Go to 4-9, a 7-5 win over the Giants at 11 on a 3-run bomb by Nick Maton, walkout style with 2 out. It was his third of the year. Game took nearly 4 hours to play. Joey Wentz starts, goes 5 2/3, gives up 1 run and 6 hits. Javi Baez drove in a couple runs on 2 hits, one day after being pulled from the game by A.J. Hinch. The Detroit Pistons get permission to interview Bucks assistant Charles Lee about their open head coaching job. By the way, Tigers today sending Michael Lorenz into the mound for his first start. 1:10 the first pitch right here on 97.1. The ticket today is Jackie Robinson Day across MLB. Tampa Bay loses to Boston 6-3. They lose their first game. NBA play-in games. The Heat beat the Bulls 102-91. They become the number 8 seed in the playoffs. They'll face Milwaukee. Good luck with that. Minnesota does the same with a 120-95 win over the Thunder. They played Denver in round 1. At the Ticket Update desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more 97.1, The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
Alrighty, welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Good morning, everyone. I'm Harvey Freed, alongside of me, Becky Alley.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. I feel like it was summer. Is summer here to stay already? I don't know.
Well, until Monday. Just until Monday. It's
until like
here.
the snow comes down in June.
We've got a great show lined up for you, of course, everybody. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Today's guests, Keller Williams Realty, Lisa Cutting, and Deborah Katz. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Guys are powerhouses. They're just very humble people here this morning. If you've got any questions about real estate, wanting to sell that house, buy a new home, this would be a great show to listen to. These guys are a powerhouse. Of course, I stepped by the office, Becky, and they were so humble. I went over to the board, the scoreboard that they have at this huge Keller Williams office. These guys are number 2 in the office out of like 500 agents. You guys are doing a lot of business, and there's a lot of reasons why. I caught on to that real quick, Lisa. You're all about the buyers, the sellers, and really putting out everything out there so that these sellers get what they need from the sale of their house.
Yes, that is true. It's definitely a seller's market, but it doesn't mean it's less work on our end. Sellers are getting top dollar for their houses these days. The tough part is really with the buyers because the inventory is so low.
Well, I feel like it's been a seller's market, right? It never really changed from a seller's market. There was that moment in time at the beginning of the year where buyers were able to really kind of capitalize on the fact that people were clinching their pearls over the interest rates changing a little bit too dramatically for everyone. But it still was a seller's market on paper because we're in a housing crisis. There's just not enough homes out there for people. But, but to that point, it really is navigating these buyers right now to make sure that they're not experiencing what they maybe felt 2 years ago, where it was just that extreme buyer fatigue.
That's it.
That's true.
Buyer fatigue
it's
a
real
deal.
It's really setting in, Deb, no doubt that this inventory, and when we thought, we keep saying, hey, this inventory is going to pick up. There might be some empty nesters, but it becomes
lies.
It's lies. It becomes a 1-for-1 because if they're selling their house, let's say we're in our 60s or 70s and we're going to maybe consider downsizing. It's a 1-for-1. We sell a house, but then we're going to go buy one. It truly doesn't do anything to pick up the inventory. We are up against these buyers out there. Truly need to have professionals like you guys all set. They got to be ready to go. What else are you seeing that a buyer might be able to do other than have a whole lot of extra money?
Yeah, exactly. That's like,
Want me to answer that?
Yeah.
We're coming back down that one.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, we've been forced to be creative in our offer writing. It's not just about price, although sellers think it is. There are other terms in purchase agreements that you can navigate and you can negotiate. The biggest thing that I'm seeing, and they went away for a little bit for a couple of months, and now they're back with a vengeance, are the escalation clauses that are being used in purchase agreements. In other words, so if a home is listed, home was listed for $350, and
use that as a scenario, like a $350 listing. There's going to be 10 families, making offers on this. How do you get that accepted?
Well, the escalation clauses will allow buyers to make an offer, let's say, at asking price.
Okay.
But let's say they're willing to pay more than that, and they're qualified to buy higher, but they don't want to leave any money on the table. So they'll say, my offer is $350, but I'm willing to pay X amount of dollars over the highest offer up to a certain amount. So let's say they're willing to pay up to $380 for that house,
Wow.
but they don't want to
Okay.
go in at $380. The highest offer may be $365. So maybe they can get it for $1,000 over the highest offer, which would then make it $366.
Or maybe even a $2,000 or $3,000 escalation, something a little more exciting. Doesn't have to be a lot more.
I have won many offers with escalation clauses, and there are agents out there who don't like to use them, don't like to accept them as offers. But if you're really representing and advocating for your buyers, it's important to understand that it's their money, and if they don't have to go in at the highest that they're able to pay, why would they? If they can, have that escalation up to.
So I want to ask you a question based off something you just said, right? So what would be a reason why someone doesn't want to accept an offer that's got an escalation clause on that? You're saying some don't want to accept them. What would be a reason for that?
Well, part of it is that they just want our highest and best.
They feel like it's cheating the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you agree,
I agree.
Debbie?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you going to play this game? Just come in at your highest, and no.
We're here
if
to
you're
represent the buyer.
If your buyer doesn't necessarily want to pay that amount, and typically it's going to be over what it's going to appraise for, why would you?
Okay.
And then you got a highest. So I like this scenario. So let's just say it's somewhere around 360, 365 is the listing price. And then you throw an escalation clause. There might be a family willing to pay 380. So now it comes back. And if you're listing the house, you're representing Deb, you're representing these sellers. And you say to them, look, we have an offer here for 380. And we also have one for 380. We can go 2,500. So it's 382.5 over.
Yeah.
And if they say, well, we'll take the highest one, now you can call back the buyer and say, would you be willing? We have one at 380. Would you be willing to go 382.5? And you're working for your seller. Like, why would somebody not be interested in that? And again, I'm just saying that it's apples to apples, that both of those buyers appear to have conventional mortgages, and maybe they have a 401k, they got an extra $20,000 sitting in there, and you know what? They don't want to miss out anymore.
Right.
That fatigue is setting in, Becky, and we see that all the time. Buyers, look, I'm willing to pay an extra $20,000. I'm going to live here for a long time. It's not going to make a difference to me.
Right. It's a very exhausting process. It's an emotional process.
Emotional is key. Yes, it definitely is emotional.
Very emotional. And whether we want to admit it or not, many buyers, they fall in love with a house. And as much as we tell them, don't get
Don't
your
get
hopes
attached.
up. It's going to be very competitive. Yes, we have to go in at our highest and our best, and our best, most reasonable offer for your scenario. Don't go crazy if you're not comfortable with that. But they get tired, they get worn out, and by that time, you've shown them 15 houses, 20 houses.
That's a
You've
lot.
made really aggressive, good offers, and they're just said, I can't do it anymore. I need to take a break.
Okay. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. That's scary. 248-539-9797. Want to hear your stories a little bit? If there's a success story, any of you folks who bought in 2020, 2021, I'm going to say anytime you buy a house, it's a good thing, Becky. Homes have been appreciating across the United States, more importantly, here in our backyard. 7% maybe this year, 5%. That's better than 0% or giving your money away to a landlord. No doubt home ownership is back alive and kicking.
It's always been alive and kicking, especially, in Michigan, we have changed to a 365 state. You have people that are literally hustling and busting in January in the coldest months. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember the winter because we've been so busy because it's, it's constant in Michigan, which I love the fact that we have changed to a 365 state because we are so affordable. If you go outside of, we're a national lender, so obviously we know what's happening nationally. But in Michigan, we're one of the most affordable states still, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's really important for the buyers to understand, when you hear it's like, oh, it's, great to buy. The truth is that it's okay to rent. If renting is serving your purpose right now to get you ready for home ownership, great, do it. But also have a plan, an exit plan. You do not want to be a lifetime renter. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I actually did a home buyer course last week with Thrive Realty. And one of the individuals there, she was a little bit older woman, and she had this mindset that home ownership was just always going to miss her.
Yeah.
and she's been renting at the same place for 17 years. And she threw her hat in the ring in 2020, and it was wild, right? There's a lot of things happening, and she got discouraged. And so I sat down with her and we talked about it, and she was like, and she got tears in her eyes, and she was like, I am so happy I came here because you just restored my faith in what I'm going to be able to do. And so we talked about it. She actually qualified for a down payment assistance program. And when I called her to tell her that she was pre-approved, right in the middle of it, I answered the phone and she's like all like kind of feeling chaotic. And I was like, oh, are you okay? She's like, I just got locked out of my apartment. I'm waiting for the maintenance man. I go, well, if this is not divine intervention on the phone
There it is,
right now, I go, I don't know what is. I was like, because I'm calling to tell you that you are pre-approved to buy your own house. You no longer have to wait for that maintenance man to let you in, girlfriend. We're going to get you in a house.
I got a great home warming gift for her. You know those fake rocks with the keys in it that you can hide, or you hide in the backyard or something?
Well, the door was jammed, but the thing is that it works for you. And sometimes it's a conversation, and people are afraid to have those conversations. Someone asked me, what do you think is the one thing, what's the biggest first-time buyer mistake that people make? And I said, they don't even try.
It's true.
They don't even try.
It's true.
Deb, I asked you, I said, I know you got into the industry like 3 years ago, and I said, well, it's been really fun for you and exciting. You were a nurse, and you correlated nursing right away with home ownership.
Yeah.
Just tell me some of those things that we talked about before, because I think it was really worth sharing.
Well, I was a nurse for 30 years, an OB nurse, so I worked with pregnant patients.
Yeah, the babies.
Yeah, all the babies.
Bring in
Super
the babies.
fun, and I absolutely loved it. And I always loved real estate. And I met Lisa; she was my agent. And 3 years ago, I decided to get my license. And people always say to me, "Well, that's weird. You changed from nursing to real estate. It's so different." And I said, "It's not really that different. I feel like for 30 years, I've been advocating for patients. I have been taking care of them, making them feel comfortable during a huge event in their lives. And I'm just transferring that to another big event in someone's life. My goal is to make them feel when we've, completed a deal that I've really looked out for them. I've taken good care of them the whole time through the transaction. I want them to feel comfortable and advocated for. And so it's not very different. It feels very much the same.
I love
All right,
that.
we're going to give that warm, fuzzy feeling here to the rest of this show. 248-539-9797. If you're buying or selling real estate, give us a call. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's 9:16. April 15th. This used to be tax day. I don't know what's going on. We'll talk about that. Your taxes are due on April 18th. That is on Tuesday. All right, get them done, folks.
Whatever
Got a couple
day that
days.
is.
Yeah, get those done, especially, Becky, if you want to use those tax returns to use as your income and you're trying to get a mortgage. There's a lot of reasons why you want to get that 2022 tax return completed. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are sponsored by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. I'm Harvey Free, Becky Alley. We brought on today Lisa Cutting and Deborah Katz from the Cutting team out in Keller Williams out in Union Lake office. They work the Tri-County very, very hard. We're going to get into some details. You guys spend, I'll go into it right now. You guys spend more money helping your sellers sell their house than anyone I've ever spoke to. It's nuts, Deb. You guys are entitled to make money, but you do it the old-fashioned way. And that's one of the reasons I want to get you hooked up with some sellers. I ran into a family, a past client. I was talking to him this week, and I want to get him to you guys because I said, aren't your walls all banged up? He's got 4 kids under the age of 10. He goes, oh, yeah, the house needs painting. I go, it's a little messy. He goes, yeah. And I go, how about that mulch? Did you get that outside? He doesn't do anything. Deb, you got to have professional agents that have a few dollars in their pocket so they can help you maximize your profit.
It's true. Yeah, Lisa and I really try to set our sellers up for success to get the highest price, for their listing. We help them with prep. We've got tons of, vendors that we can, we've got on call that can come out and lay the mulch, like you said, or do some repairs, get that house looking good. We talk to them, it's springtime, right? So houses aren't looking their best outside. So you've got to prep outside. You want to, inspectors are always talking about tree limbs, tree branches that are hitting the roof of the house that are going to, hurt the shingles. So if you can get someone out there to trim those tree branches, to get some mulch laid, to get the outside looking good when people drive by, it's going to bring more buyers into your home.
I love that.
That's really the first impression that somebody gets of a home. It's the curb appeal. And just every inspection I've been through, almost everyone has a section in there about the grading of the house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just grade it away from the house, put some mulch in, and it just makes, number one, a great difference in curb appeal, but it also puts the house in better condition as well. And, just even the simplest things sometimes for sellers, just changing the light bulbs to all LEDs and all the same wattage. It's amazing how much brighter a house will look when you've got all the same light bulbs in there. And that's an easy fix.
Yeah, they say the devil's in the details, but I feel like it needs to change. The angels are in the details,
it's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's just those little things. And when, to have high caliber agents like yourselves going out to someone's house where you're not going out there to hurt someone's feelings, right? It's all about how you deliver the message,
yes.
right? It's all about how you're relaying that information, but there's nothing wrong with that because you're there as an advocate and they hear that and they trust it instead of being like, these walls suck, you're painting, whatever else. Like, you're just, these little things do go a long way because people are busy, they're living their life. They are just, they got all the kids and they're working and they're trying to buy a house in the middle of that. And, here we are like, give me all your bank statements, give me all your things. And you're over the house like, put the mulch down, right? How can I help you make it easier? We're here to uncomplicate what feels like a complicated situation because we do this every day. And so when people dial into the real professionals like ourselves, like you guys, it is a totally different experience. There's people that we deal with where it's like their second house and you talk to them and they have no idea what even happened to them. Yeah. They have no idea what they did, how they did it, and it's a horrible experience. Or, you get to close and you're like, wow, this was nothing like I thought it was going to be. No, this was how it was supposed to be.
Yeah. No matter what, it's always a stressful time, but it doesn't have to be an unhappy, stressful time.
I love that. Yeah, that's true.
So you're always working towards the common goal. We all just want to get to that closing table. And even though it's a seller's market, sellers need to step up their game too. I mean, if they really, really want to get top dollar, they just some little things that we can take care of for you and take that stress off while you're trying to pull all the documents together for the lenders and get the dogs and the kids out of the house for the house to be shown. I mean, some people just go away for the weekend and just say, have at it, because I don't want to have to deal with getting people out of the house all weekend long. So,
now I want to stay on that for a second. Okay, so you're talking about, so it's still a seller's market, but then you have that seller that's you got to sell to buy. Right. So in those situations, like even though sellers to that point, they can't get too arrogant or too cocky because everyone has. So if you're selling, most of the time you're buying. And so I saw a stat for every 2 homes or for every 2 out of 3 homes, they're looking to buy and sell, right? And so it's like, so if you're the inventory that's coming on, it's also looking someone to take up a house as well. So that's why we're still in this housing crisis. But to that point, you know, like, what are you doing about that situation? How you're setting that seller up for success, because they might be really like, I want to get the top dollar, but then they're trying to get a deal at the same time when they're buying. And it's like you kind of lose that mindset a little bit because they just run the other side of the coin, be like, I want $50,000 and all these over asking, but then I want to get this at ask over here.
You want me to answer that? Yeah. It's funny because there have been many conversations I've had recently where I go, okay, Mr. Seller, you are now very quickly going to become a buyer.
Right.
So let's be careful here with, you know, how we're viewing things. Or buyers, when they have to sell their house, it's you know, they have to switch roles. So it's a little tricky, and it is a domino effect because, I mean, everything's got to fall into place. The house you're buying has to have the same kind of occupancy needs that, you know, that you have. And if something falls through the cracks or that it gets delayed, it doesn't just affect you. And we're all human, and we all think it is all about us. So if we want to push a closing off, or we want to take our time getting our information to the lender, that's okay. Well, really, it's not, because there's other people depending on you and us as realtors to make sure that everything stays on track.
Yeah, we see this is totally going on right now in the industry. It's getting all these ducks in a row and having these tougher conversations. Becky, one of the things that we keep running into is 50% of the clients, Lisa, and you're going to see this too, you go to a seller, they want to buy, they can't buy unless they sell their house. We are really pushing the envelope for them to get them set up just as if they're almost like a cash buyer.
Yes.
Again, folks, after 31 years, I've never seen anyone wheeling bags full of money at the closing table. So stop telling me that you accepted a cash offer over even a higher offer. I think if those words came out of someone's mouth in today's market, I'd be scared that a seller's willing to take less money on cash. There's no cash shows up at the closing. They can wire it to your banking account.
Money's money, right?
Yeah, money's money at the end of the day. But a lot of these buyers, Becky, just to keep that whole thought process, they can either be approved without selling their house, and again, they could recast the loan at a later date, or they can't. And it's so important that they can have their house sold contingent, Lisa, on them finding another house. I like that idea. It's one of the things I always push. I said, look, if you've got your house sold, it's under contract, but there's one last contingency. You have to sign off on it until you get your house accepted and you're able to remove that contingency. I like that going into 2022 this spring, just because it's that hot out there.
Well, to what we're talking about, though, there needs to be understanding, because then on the real estate side, sometimes, you know, I'm not knocking anyone. Some people are inexperienced, and that's fine, right? You don't know what you don't know. But there's a lot of pressure sometimes on the real estate side hitting us as lenders, being like, we can't go in contingent. They automatically feel like they're beat if they have to be contingent because it is so competitive. But that's not the case. I have quite a few buyers in my pipeline, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, is they're contingent on the sale of their home because they're buying and selling. And there's a lot of it happening. So I feel like working with people like yourselves, it's all about reaching across that aisle, because cash is not king, in my opinion.
Right.
And if you can get someone top dollar for their house, and then you're reaching across that listing agent, you're finding out, as if you're on the buyer side, what are the pain points? What do they really need? And if it's a matter of I can close a deal in 2 weeks, okay, great. But our efficiency is also contingent upon everyone else doing their job. And, you know, and in that situation, you have to be understanding that, you know, if you're like, oh, they can't be contingent, we're not going to win. No, maybe we just need to be a little bit more creative as far as getting that offer accepted.
Yeah. And it is about creativity. And that is the importance of working with a really good lender as well, like you two. Just to be someone that thinks creatively, that we can go in, and when we make an offer that's contingent, are we presenting it in a way that is a winner for the seller as well as the buyer.
Definitely palatable for the sellers and the buyers. You know, this time of the year is really interesting too. Hey, look, folks, I want to get my house sold, but the kids don't get out of school till June 15th. So that also falls into play where they could say, you know what, I'm okay with accepting a contingent offer. Why don't we say this weekend? We'll accept your offer, and we're going to give you 2 weeks to get your house sold. And in today's marketplace, that may be too long, right? Because if you have great agents that are listing your house, you're going to get multiple offers.
They're technically not, they're contingent, but they're really not contingent. Like, you can turn that house really quickly. And that's where you have those open lines of communication. Be like, look, I'm not going to put them in a bad spot. They need the money to put down. It's all about having that conversation to make sure that we are all rowing the boat in the same direction. And I feel like, for the most part, people in the industry, like that irateness and the irrational, for the most part, people have checked their egos. But we can talk about that after the break, where it's like, you know, not dealing with that person that's going to be overly angry and being aggressive about a situation, because it's not do or die if you close on a Friday instead of a Monday.
All right, we got the spring checklist for you. Inspect the roof. Winter storms do things to roofs. Repair, replace seals around windows and doors. AC, furnace. When we come back, we're going to share everything with you. 248-539-9797. We'll be back. We are back. It is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, 931 And I'm going to say it's a glorious day, Becky, because it's going to be 81 degrees today, and that's pretty cool stuff here.
It's a glorious day because we're in here with these awesome powerhouse women. Let's talk about that.
Real estate's fun. Tiger baseball coming up later today, too. I love this time of year. And we got an extra start here to the spring cleanup. I'm already out there. I did some power washing. I'm already staining the deck. I think my feet are TWP 101, that cedar color. Yeah, the bottom of my feet look like cedar color. It's a good look if you're showing that off. Anyways, buyers and sellers, give us a call, 248-539-9797. Deborah Katz, Lisa Cutting team out of Keller Williams, Union Lake. You guys are really interesting because you sort of take me back to some days in the past where it was all about referrals. It was all about whining and dining and dazzling your clients. Then they sent you their children. Then they sent you their friends and their cousins and everyone else. And that's really how you built your business up. It's a huge business. You guys are basically all referral based.
It didn't start that way, but
Okay.
I've been doing this. I'm in my 8th year now, and it was about year 5, year 6, where I started getting the repeat business from people who either needed to downsize or go up in size, or they were having kids, or they were getting married, or their sister needed a house. So yes, over the last at least 3 or 4 years, it's been very much referral based, and from my sphere of people, neighborhoods. I live in the same community that I grew up in. So it just seems like it takes off. And I told Debbie when she started, I said, give it a few years and then you're going to start getting referrals. And I wasn't lying.
I see it. And I think, I think that is a testament to you and to me and how we treat people that, we're basing our business mostly on referrals, repeat business and referrals, because we really do try to put our clients first and make it a good deal for them. So we're seeing referrals now.
That's a good spot.
This is a back to basic market in a sense, right? And where you put in the work, what you practice in private comes out in public. And the fact that being referral based, you do have to put the work in, right? But but that hustle, it doesn't lie. So in those moments when you're hustling, the universe, it does give back to you. So when you put whatever you put in, it is going to come back to you as long as you're there to see the signs and communicate and do the right things, right? Because being authentic, people people will get sold on things or other people that are just not, they're disingenuous, but at the same time, they're never coming back to that person because their mask falls off eventually and they're going to say, man, I didn't feel good about this. But when you make someone feel good, like you guys have, that's why you do have the generational referrals. Even at Capital Mortgage Funding, we are generational referrals. We don't do trigger leads. We don't do the bottom feeder effect where someone pulls their credit and all of a sudden we got all these people we're calling. We think that's gross. We think it's criminal and we don't do that. And that's where we are 99% or 100% referral because, that matters and people want to feel good about what they're buying. And this is their biggest investment.
One of the values of Keller Williams overall, and which is why I love working with them, is you come from contribution. It's not all about the dollars at the end of the day. It's about helping and doing the right thing at the right time, and everybody has a win-win. And if you can just meet people, I try to meet people, talk to people, and not let them know I'm a real estate agent, but just genuinely care about what's going on in their lives, compliment them on, something that they've accomplished recently, and that really builds a rapport with people. And I try to do that. I'm a work in progress.
Well, but you're doing it. You're authentic. You're not just doing it just to do it, and that's where people feel that difference. And when you meet someone where they are and where their life is, because every buyer is different, every situation is different.
Like a couple things, we'll do some homework real quick. We'll go back to 2 on that, Lisa. Loan modifications are for FHA. FHA had put some information out last week. They're not doing a 40-year term. No, they're not, folks. It's still a 30-year term, which is great. But the modification program came out for FHA. But FHA, Becky, did something great. They did lower the MIP a month or 2 ago. So the Federal Housing Administration makes housing very affordable, and there's different reasons why you might want to take a look at one of those mortgages. Call Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll tell you all the differences and teach you everything because, Becky, there's a lot of BS going on out there. Down payment assistance. We pull the cover back. We offer all the programs we always have. We know that there's some noise out there about some new programs out there, but it's sort of a bait and switch, and you and I both read into and were like, this might help some people, but not enough people. Tell us a little bit more about all the different programs.
Yeah, so there's a lot of noise out there and obviously everyone is trying to put their clients in the best position possible, so making it more affordable for everybody. That's key, especially for our first-time home buyers. They're going against seasoned buyers, step-up buyers, right-sizing buyers. The first-timers, they're up against it a little bit, so we need to make sure we're always setting them up for success. So there's been some new down payment assistance programs that are not on the retail side, so in the broker land. And again, anytime a good program comes out, people are going to benefit from it, but you got to understand the bait and switch part of it, because when you pull back the cover, like Harvey just said, if your income is over $47,000, you're out.
On certain programs.
You're out on some of that program, right? So, as far as we are a federally insured Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac direct lender. What does that mean? There's no middleman. This is our money we are lending. So it gives us an opportunity to be a little bit more flexible on some of these programs. So when we're communicating with someone and we identify that they need some assistance, we offer MISDA. That could be up to $10,000 in certain areas. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer. The income limits can be up to $107,000. That's a lot of flexibility for someone that might need assistance, even if they're a repeat buyer, if they're buying in a certain area. It is our job to identify that. We have a conventional program. As long as one person on the loan is a first-time home buyer, meaning that mom and dad can step in and be a non-occupying cosigner. If they're living in an underserved community, for example, around us would be Southfield. If you live in Southfield and you have a 620 FICO score, you can get a $7,000 true grant that is forgivable. You do not have to pay it back. There's not a second lien on the property. $7,000 up to $1,000 of your owner's insurance, title insurance, and the appraisal credit of $500. So these are things that you don't have to be. One person's got to be a first-time home buyer. That's it. We have National Faith. That one's got a little bit more tighter income restrictions, but if you live in the Detroit area, that's up to $25,000. You're literally buying a house 10% down and you're getting a check at closing. These are huge powerhouse.
That's a Wayne County program.
That's
Everything
Wayne
about the city of Detroit. And then Beck, I like how you mentioned the $7,000. That you don't have to pay it back.
Correct. And
no
that's
recourse
multiple
on
states.
That. Yep.
That's not just Michigan.
Yep.
So if you are living in Michigan and you live in Lincoln Park, for example, and you want to buy a house in Georgia, you can take that $7,000 and apply it anywhere you want to go, because it is key that we are putting people in affordable, well-qualified mortgages and getting them off that hamster wheel of feeling they have to be, a lifetime renter. It is all about taking someone and giving them the trajectory to change their life, because sometimes it's just that one conversation that is going to change your life, and that mental state that you feel like you weren't good enough. You deserve homeownership when you are ready. That's key.
You guys feel this huge demand for housing. It really kicked off. The numbers were telling us that. The baby boomers and then the Gen X's and the Generation Z. The numbers were showing us over the last 3 to 5 years. Look, there's going to be a lot of buyers coming out of the market onto the marketplace. We did investigation. The numbers are telling us the average age is about 34 years old. But homes are being formulated. People are getting married. They're having children. There's a lot of this formation going on. And then the pandemic kicked in. And if you didn't own a house during the pandemic, you wish you did.
For sure.
Because you wanted to get out of the house in your backyard. And how much fun was that with all the outdoor spaces? And then it shined a new light.
I became a bird watcher. I was like, oh, look at the blue jays. They're a bunch of sociopaths.
Yeah.
You got the books at home too, right? I don't want to tell you about my duck problem, but yeah. That's what happened though, and it's fun. You guys sort of experienced that too, because the last 2.5, 3 years, a lot of great new families getting into housing.
That's true. Life circumstances change. And it's during COVID, when we were on lockdown, we weren't classified as being essential.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were literally showing houses virtually to people. And
So what was that like? So to
it
kind of
was weird.
Yeah, so you're walking around, someone on FaceTime, right?
Yeah.
Being like, and over here
The
is the
seller
linen
is showing
closet.
us their house.
Okay.
I'm on my laptop. My buyer's on his laptop at his house, and the seller and the seller's agent, we're all we're like on a Zoom, and the seller's literally walking us through the house. Couldn't really give your opinion about things. You couldn't talk to your client because the other client, and it was interesting. But we had a great year that year.
Sold
house?
That's
Huge
the year Debbie
That's
got her
ideal.
license.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen,
Yeah.
if you can make it in that kind of atmosphere,
That's
you
what
can
I
make it
figure.
anywhere.
Trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
Get in, and if you can get through this part of it, you can get through anything pretty much,
Yep.
you know? Yeah, but
Baptism through fire.
Right, exactly. But I think COVID, it really, people spent so much time in their homes that it made them reevaluate how they use their homes. Like everybody wanted these open concept homes, and now kids are doing homework and 2 people are trying to work from home. So that brought a lot of buyers out. People were like, I need my own space.
I need a colonial now. I need all the rooms.
I need everyone separate.
The other thing is they didn't care which county they lived in.
Yes.
Because so many people were working from home.
Right.
Yes.
So they're like, I just know what kind of house I want and how much I want to spend. So we were going to Jackson County, Macomb
Everywhere.
County.
Yeah, Livingston blew up
Yeah.
again. There's no homes on the market
then
there.
Lake homes come into play.
It was,
Yes.
and they all had to have an office or a workspace.
Yeah, like I feel like the lake homes. I want to kind of spin on that a little bit because
Deb, you ready for your statistics
yeah, so,
over there?
Well, in Michigan, we have a beautiful state. I mean, you're talking about the west
We have a
side.
great
You got,
state.
I mean, we have lakes inside our little mitten, right? And then
Yes.
we're surrounded by the lakes.
Oh, I know.
So
It's
I definitely
beautiful.
want to get into the stats as far as the lake homes because that is a huge push, and I love the fact that we live in Michigan and you can drive 4 hours and feel like you're somewhere else.
Somewhere in a whole other planet
Yes.
for that matter. Okay, when we come back, Deb's got all the good stuff here. She's got homes available on golf courses. That sounds cool. Homes available on lakes and a whole lot more. 248-539-9797. We'll be back. Back live here in the studio. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, again brought to you by Capital Mortgage Fund. You can call us all week long, all weekend long. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's where you can find Becky and myself and our entire staff. We do a great job. We've been around a long time. We've got a long history. And so do these ladies of helping families across Southeast Michigan. Of course, Lisa Cutting and Deborah Katz out at the Keller Williams office. They work all Tri-County areas and a little bit further. Boy, you guys have been out to Jackson, even I'll keep going south of that. I don't know all the counties. Isabella County. Help me out with all the counties in Michigan.
I mean, there's a lot.
It's like 46 of them or something like that.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them.
But we're here to find the county that works for you.
But Deb, you got the good stuff. You brought in some golf's on everyone's mind. Of course, last week you had the Masters, and you got some good information there. If you want to live on a golf course, we've got it for you.
Yeah, I've got it for you. So in Oakland County alone, we have 42 golf properties. They're either directly on a golf course or in a golf community. So if you are a golfer and you want to look at I'm not a golfer, so what do you call it?
I don't know. The clubhouse.
I want to look at the well-manicured grass.
Right,
That's what I want to do.
It is so well-manicured.
I don't have to touch it because they're going to do it for me.
42 properties. They range in price from $317,000 to $4 million. So we've pretty much got something for, everybody.
Yeah, I like that.
And I'm a lake person, and I have, in Oakland County alone, there are 75 homes for sale on all sports lakes throughout Oakland County. And again, those range in price from like $300,000 to
really?
$5 million. Yeah. And I'm really excited. I don't know if I can make a plug for I'm holding a house open today for one of my new listings that's on Wolverine Lake. It's just a stunning home.
Yeah.
And I'm holding that open from 1 to 4. Can I give the address on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
for sure.
at 2547 South Commerce Road in Wolverine Lake. And if you don't know Wolverine Lake, it's just a really beautiful lake and a really fun community. They hold like tiki nights and all kinds of events. And everyone that lives there, I feel like their kids grow up and buy homes on the lake because it's so much fun. So
what lake isn't beautiful though? I mean, if you can, you just sit outside, sip on your coffee in the morning, or watch a sunset. And, watch your kids play on a lake and have that kind of community. Like, who doesn't really want to live in a lake? And
it's true.
And that's an all sports lake also. And now, so she just read a whole bunch of them. If you're interested in any of these homes, you can reach out to these guys by call the Keller Williams team. Just ask for either Deborah.
How can they find you guys?
Yeah. How do they find you the easiest? The Cutting team, or how would it be easiest?
They can call our office.
Yeah.
The main office number is 248-360-2900, and either ask for myself or Debbie, and they can transfer you.
360-2900.
To get a lake property for under $400,000, you're not getting that in very many states in the United States anymore. So
That's true.
That's why I was like, Michigan is I love where we're at because you can have the most beautiful views, drive a couple hours, be in a completely different galaxy, it feels like, but you also have a home that is affordable and it's generational because that's your second home that you can even go up to on the weekends and just live your best life. And look at me living my best life on a lake. Cool.
And to my point where I was talking earlier about, people needing office space in their home and what a better office space than an office staring out at a fairway or a lake. And if you think that that's not realistic, people really want to have a view. So when they're working, they're not just in the basement.
Yeah, my brother always brings up a tennis court. He's like, Becky, you should build a tennis court in your backyard. I'm like, why? And he was like, it's status. He's like, even if you're just looking at it, he's like, it's status.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Like, even if you don't like golf, you don't have to cut that backyard. That's for sure.
Less grass to cut for sure. Well, that's the thing about living on the water. Of course, you have behind you is all this gorgeous water. You don't have to cut it. You don't have neighbors that are having weeds and stuff growing.
Right.
And I always reach out. I always use this show to just reach out to different families out there. The healing show, or my portion of the healing show. Reach out to your neighbors, folks. Help them bring that garbage can in. Look, spring's around the corner. If you got a few extra bucks, I do it even for my neighbor. David, if you're listening, I don't really mean it, but if I've got a little extra mulch, if I'm going to have it delivered, get an extra half yard of mulch. It only costs like $30. Now, I put it in my neighbor's property in his front yard. Now, our values of our whole neighborhood goes up. There's little things you can do. Pat yourself on the back. Do it to help somebody else. And then sort of it helps you out, too. It makes your neighborhood cleaner, worth more desirable.
More desirable.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you can't pick your neighbors, right? In hindsight, right? You can't pick your family if you love the house. Like, that's just what it is, just like your family. You're just, they are who they are and you got to love them. But if you can have that that good relationship with your neighbor, that does make the whole living and buying experience much better when you can make that communication. Like, so tonight I'm going to be hanging out with my neighbors.
That's fun.
It's
We
like,
do. We do.
Like, it's just a door down, but it's been too long. We haven't really connected because we've been so busy, but that matters. It really just builds that community that you're looking for all the time.
All right, we got a few minutes here for some extra calls. 248-539-9797. Lisa, you're looking at me like you got something to say.
I did.
Yeah.
No, I was just commenting at the break about on page 1 of the Detroit Free Press.
Oh.
They had an article today about home sales in a spring drought, is the title of it.
Yeah.
And we were just talking in a meeting yesterday at my office about. We were talking about listings in the first quarter and what do we see with listings coming up. And many of our sellers are in major major life events for some reason. It just seems like more now than in the past years are either having, unfortunately, divorces or they're transferring jobs, and that has been, and that's where our sellers are coming from. It's not necessarily people who are.
I just want to move. Like people used to move just to.
Yeah.
People did used to move just because they wanted to move.
Circumstances
I do agree with
are
that.
wanting them to move, or making them need to move these days. And it's just ironic that as we were waiting for you this morning, it was right on the first page of the Detroit Free Press, and I couldn't agree more.
I appreciate you guys reading the news too.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even read the old-fashioned news, but that's relevant to our stories. I'll
Yes.
take the copy after because I
Okay.
want to get on that.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
but that is true. I mean, you have divorce situations, people that bought in 2020, they bought a house, they didn't even realize what they were buying because they might have bought it in sight unseen, or they put in an offer because they wanted to win and now it doesn't suit their needs, or maybe they're no longer remote. They bought a house somewhere far away because they're like, I'm going to work remote for the rest of my life. And now they're like, hey, guess what? You got to come back to the office. And now that drive time is completely unrealistic. So it's really identifying where it is that pain point, what is the need, so that way we can serve them and then also help our buyers get into these homes now that are coming on the market. Like I have a gentleman that was living in Arizona and just got transferred to Michigan. Same exact situation. I mean, that's going across country now here to Michigan, but I was able to get connected through our referral partners, and we got them pre-approved, and it's an affordable home. They're going to go buy in a lake and all the things, but it all starts with that conversation and really just we have to be first as the lender.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's key. You have to communicate with the lender so we can set you up for success. We know what your maximum price point is, so that way when you're throwing your hat in the ring on these houses, you're going to get accepted. And, we have a lot of buyers where us just making certain phone calls, because we are a reputable local company.
Yeah.
We're not online, like an online base. We are literally, you can sit across from me and we can make eye contact. You can sit across from Harvey and we can shake hands. We can do all the things, but that is what is key. Local lenders are really what's going to help you get accepted, because people on the listing side, they want to know that you're dealing with someone that you can talk to.
Hey, you guys, National Association of Realtors, The Economist, they're predicting that prices already bottomed out. What did they only bottom out in? There was like 4 weeks they bottomed out. It was maybe December.
It's that commercial, expired. It's old news.
Yeah, home prices aren't going down,
No, they're
folks.
not.
The inventory is just going to keep these prices up. So 248-539-9797 if you want to share your thoughts on that. But we already know what's going on here in Southeast Michigan. We're seeing it across the United States. If you're thinking about home ownership, like Becky said, get with qualified mortgage people up front. Really break it all down. Find out how much money it's going to take. What are the funds you're working with? And how can you achieve this home ownership thing, which is just an unbelievable wealth builder for your family, building strong communities. And guys, just before we wrap that other conversation up, definitely, why are people selling their houses? Yeah, the kids are out of the house. It's just too much house sometimes. So we see a little of that too, Lise.
I'm seeing more people wanting to sell homes because they need to now, rather than
A want.
A
Yeah.
want. That's for sure. And they need extra money. They know they're going to capitalize on the market because they are at a point in their life where they need extra money.
Okay.
But I think I've just seen more and more people going through the phases of life that are requiring them to have to make a move.
Yeah, and that's why we're here. Before we wrap up the show, I want to kind of do a little bit of a buyer advocating here. Do yourself a favor if you are thinking about buying a house within now in the next 5 years, whatever. Start the conversation as soon as possible. And there's a lot of I'm going to buy a house, but I want to buy a car at the same time.
Yeah, no.
Do not overextend yourself on these car payments because they are really expensive and it does affect your affordability. Also, there's a lot of people that co-sign for car loans for other people for their children. That also affects them when they're trying to get qualified for the maximum price point. So give us a call your lender, whoever that might be, and make sure you're getting your finances analyzed because that's going to affect how you're going to be able to afford a home.
Great stuff, Becky, and keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We want to thank you guys, Deborah Katz,
you.
Lisa
This was
Cutting,
fun.
for oh, good. You're going to come back now. We like that.
I'll be back.
All right, a little
Thank you,
nervous, but
guys.
you guys are awesome and a
you.
great real estate team. Keller Williams, Union Lake office, 248-360-2900. Deb's got that great listing of Wolverine Lake. Give them
Go
a
check
call.
her out.
All right, we got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. He'll talk Tiger baseball. We got the draft coming up. Keep it here.